much for your extraordinary warm welcome. That was quite a shock as I came through the door. It was a very nice surprise. Today will be successful if I can really communicate with you. And I'll communicate with you best, frankly, by you asking questions. So I know that there's one person who really cares about my answer. We'll come to that in a moment. But it would really help me, instead of using the questions I've been given you, which are very good questions, if they come from you. So some of you will have to be very, very brave this morning and put your hand up and ask a question. But before we get to that, I want to make a few very general points, which I think are important. I mean, in fact, I know they're important. I hope I'm speaking slow enough. The first one is that before you can even discuss the value of technology in education, but technology in all of your lives, there's one very important factor to remember. Your success, many of you, most of you, success will depend on how well you work as teams. Teams is not just about sport. You'll find that more and more of you and more of your time will be spent working as a member of a team. And your success will be connected entirely to the success of that team. So you have to become a great, not good, a great team player. You have to understand what your role within that team is, what your contribution to that team is, and you have to understand that the team is as strong as its weakest element, and you mustn't be that weak element. You know, I retired from the movie industry nearly 20 years ago, and the only thing I miss from those wonderful years, the only thing I miss is being part of a team. Movies are made by 150 people. Often there's only one name people remember, but the truth is about 150 people make a movie. And the movie is as good as the contribution of those 150 people. My job was to be team leader, which was great. I liked it very much. But my ability to deliver was only as strong as the team. So I don't want to labour this point, but maybe we could discuss it later. You will be members of teams, and your personal success will have everything to do with how well you integrate and how successful your team is. So please definitely accept teams are not just about sport. Teams are about life. First, I think, important point. Second one is connected to creativity. Now, I brought with me a slide. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to show it to you. But I teach, when I'm teaching class, I teach that creativity is a muscle, literally a muscle. Of course, there are a few geniuses. Maybe there's some geniuses here this morning. But for most of us, it's to do with our tenacity, our ability to concentrate, focus. And like all muscles, you can develop it. Develop it by using it. You use it, and your creativity improves by using it. Now, on one hand, this may sound obvious. On the other hand, it really isn't obvious. People think of creativity as something different, something that comes out of the ether. It isn't. Creativity is a struggle, and it's a constant struggle. My son is a composer. He studied in Moscow, actually. And he's good. And often when I'm with him, people say, oh, he's really a fantastic pianist. I wish I could play the piano like that. And he always says, you can. You really can. But you must put in the 10,000 hours of practice that I put in. Because if you put in 10,000 hours, you'll be a good pianist. May not be a great pianist, but you'll be a very good pianist. So again, there's this connectivity between that muscle, because playing the piano is a muscle, reflex, and success. So that's, I think, a second point. The third point is about you as a generation, which is very different from my generation, or even different from the generation of your teachers. Because many, maybe even most of the challenges you'll face, we can't at the moment even imagine. Now, think of the implications of that. For your teacher's generation, certainly my generation, what we taught was what we learned. So we were able with great security to say, this is the way life is. This is the challenges. These are the problems. Today is different. All we can do is try to teach you to respond, to be quick thinking, to move quickly, because we don't know exactly what your problems will be. We don't know what your jobs will be. We don't know what you're going to be doing for a living, because jobs are moving and changing so quickly. So our job is to make you flexible and smart and adaptable, so that whatever happens, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, you're ready to meet that challenge. That's a completely different kind of teaching, and it's a very difficult kind of teaching, because it doesn't involve all that many facts, because facts are changing. Many, many facts are changing. So our job is to make you basically citizens of the future. The way I try to describe it is like a map of the world. I was brought up with one map of the world, set of realities. That map physically is the same, politically has changed. You are moving into a world without a map. Try to imagine you're going on a journey with very few fixed points. So you're going to have to use your imagination and your initiative as you move through. So you are a unique generation. No generation has ever had to move into its own future with so few facts to go on. Which brings me to my final point, and maybe the most important. Friends. You probably think of your friends as a person you're sitting next to, someone very important in your life, person you telephone, person you visit at the weekends. Friends are more than that. The friends you choose may well be the people that are the most important people in your life. You have to ask yourself a very important question. Does my friend want me to be the best person I possibly can be? Or do they just want me to be a friend? I was uniquely lucky in choosing my friends when I was young. One of them I married. Two of them I worked with the whole rest of my life. And they themselves became extremely successful. So I know the power of friendships, young friendships. And they can be the determining factor as to whether you are all the things you wish to be, or only the things that they'll let you be. It's quite a complicated thought, and I'm asking you to think about it. And I just picked this up from the table. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. What's interesting, this is an English illustration. This is an English character called Rupert Bear. What he's doing here, I have no idea, and I'll try and find out. But this is an English illustration. Rupert Bear, when I was growing up, was a model family. It was father, mother, little bear. And they were really a model family. And they represented for me as a child, security, the way families operated, the way they looked after each other. Rupert Bear is now a really charming concept. But when you look across the world, it's less and less and less of a reality. So another challenge for you is to work into a place where all the values, very important word, the values that I collected as a young child from Rupert Bear still operate in a technological world in which Rupert Bear is just a distant memory. These are really, really important issues, and I beg you to think about them in your own time. creativity as a muscle, friendship, and the notion of a map of the world with very few fixed points. Those are both your assets and your challenges as you move forward. Now, what I'm hoping you're going to do is really challenge me now with specific questions, and I'm very, very happy to answer. But I really want to answer you, not just stand here and talk.
Morning.
Morning.
Shall I introduce myself? Oh gosh, I'm shaking. This is a question that I have been wanting to ask you ever since I knew that you would pay a visit to our school. I just want to know your comments and opinions on brain drain, but that's all I care about.
Brain drain.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, you and I have to agree on what brain drain is, because there are two kinds of brain drain. One is educated young people like yourselves who just go abroad and never come back, just vanish. So they vanish from the economy, they vanish from the culture, they vanish as influences, and that's tragic, because really, at this point, coming from a school like this, with all the privileges that you have, to lose you is tragic. That's one kind of brain drain. On the other hand, if you take the opportunity to go overseas for 2, 3, 4 years, to absorb all the experiences that you can absorb, and bring those back and share them, that's not brain drain, that's brain asset. That's really contributing to the country. And many of your leaders, I've had this conversation with many of them, and they say to me, we need more people to go out, collect ideas, collect experiences, and then come back. So the leadership has no doubt at all that they want you to go and return. So you and I have to decide, is brain drain going out to collect experiences and return, or is brain drain just going and never coming back? And what I would say to you is, the second one, going and never returning, is very bad for Vietnam, and actually may be bad for you. Because inside your DNA are all kinds of things. You are Vietnamese. And that has all sorts, it's like a bell. You ring a bell, it has a note. That's your note. I spent 5 years of my life working in the United States. It was valuable, very, very valuable. I don't regret one day that I was there. But I'm not American, I'm English. And all my instincts are British instincts. And I was able to bring back experiences from the United States and really use them in my own country. I'd like to think, to the benefit of my own country. But once you become diaspora, once you've gone elsewhere, you will never, I promise you this, you will never quite find yourself again. But always part of you will be here, and part of you will be there. Your kids, I'm sure, will grow up, they'll be fine. But for you, you'll always be a split personality. And I don't think people sufficiently realize how much of their DNA, how much of themselves is located in their country of birth. A lot. That would be my answer.
Listeners, we're glad to see you here. Although my pronunciation can be very good, but I hope you can understand my English. Thank you. To be one of the most essential leaders like you, beside our abilities, what skill do you need to teach us? Can we be told to be one of the most expensive leaders like you.
Well, I hope you're going to be better than me. I was first of all very lucky because I was given chances when I was very young to experiment and try things. So I never had worked a path which someone else made for me. I've always had to find my own path, which is why I'm so convinced that your generation has got interesting challenges and will be a very interesting generation. I think your obligation to yourself is to look 10 years ahead. What will the shape of the world be? What will the challenges of the world be? For example, for Vietnam, I will make an absolute bet. One of the challenges will be affected by climate change. Climate change will have a very, very powerful influence on this country. So you owe it to yourself, as you develop, to understand the implications of food security, to understand the implications of maybe refugees moving in the region, to understand the implications of changing agriculture as the climate alters, to understand the engineering implications of dealing with water, which is maybe rising. These are huge challenges, but they're also great challenges, because they're the way in which you find out who you are. Are you somebody who is up for the challenges and wants to meet them and defeat them? Or are you someone who is just confused and wants to run away? I mentioned the teaching of creativity. When I teach creativity, I wish I could show you the slide, it's my fault. I show certain qualities that go with it, as I said, focus, imagination, and then on the slide, they all vanish, and one quality stays, one quality, and it bounces. And I hope this word translates okay. The word is tenacity. Tenacity. Is there a Vietnamese word for tenacity? It means, it's kind of determination. It means the ability not to give up. Now, I know enough about Vietnamese history to know that tenacity is a core quality, definitely. But to develop that quality as an individual is quite tough, because sometimes it forces you to look past the immediate challenge, or past what other people tell you is the reality, and have the tenacity, or be tenacious, as the word is, enough to keep going, and keep going, and keep going. So I know that you've got it as a national quality. All you have to question is whether you have it as an individual quality. Because if you have, you will be as successful as me and more. And if you haven't, you'll struggle. So I think, honestly, the simple answer to your question is I'm a very tenacious person. I don't give up. In fact, each time I have a problem, it makes me stronger. I like problems. Keep throwing me problems, and it makes me stronger. If you could develop that, nobody and nothing in the world can stop you.
I really like the idea that creativity is a muscle, and the more you use it, the less you lose it. Okay. And you mentioned teamwork is one of the most important factors in order to be successful in life. But I have a question, because many of my students here, they are very talented, and so they are very creative. And because they are very creative, each of them has their own idea. But it is very difficult for them to cooperate with each other as a team. So could you give me a piece of advice in order to encourage my students to work with each other as a team? So thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you. You just gave me a great phrase. I've never used it before. Unless you use it, you're going to lose it. That will be a slide. I'll make that into a slide, and I'll credit you. Okay. One of the reasons I'm stressing this business about teams and creativity is because you're absolutely right. It's counterintuitive. Creative people like to think of themselves as highly individualistic. They like to think that their idea is the only idea, and they need to protect that idea. Now, many of you will go to, I'm sure everyone here, have been to movies, special effects movies. You see movies with big special effects. Sometimes the special effects is, for example, Harry Potter. Anyone see Harry Potter here? Great. Okay, the most difficult thing they ever had to do in Harry Potter, believe it or not, was to create the bird. Remember the bird? The extraordinary bird? Because no one had ever animated fur. This may sound like a very small thing, but no one had ever managed to animate fur, to make fur real on the screen. And a big team of 100 people worked to make fur feel real on the screen. And that's just one example, that increasingly your idea, your originality, your creativity becomes only valuable when it's fed into other people's creativity and other people's ideas. For example, a scriptwriter, screenwriter, may be brilliant and writes a wonderful script, but unless he or she finds a director who A, likes the script, and then is able to interpret that script as a movie, he just stays a script. It's a piece of paper lying, I got a lot of it, lying on a shelf. So it's the ability to take ideas, work with other people, and turn them into something else that becomes so valuable. The other part is this, and this is worth saying. I mentioned that I was given chances quite early on, and I was. I worked for a guy who was very, very tough, really tough. He wasn't one of those people who says, oh, yeah, that's very nice, thank you very much. Not at all. Every time I took work to him, he'd say, could be better. What could be better? You work it out. And it really was very frustrating. So one day, I like this story. One day I went to him, almost in despair. I was very young, I was 22. And I said to him, you know, I think I'm disappointing you. And I'm very worried because you don't seem to like my work. So he said, why do you think you're here? Why do you think I employed you? I said, I did an interview, several interviews, and I guess you like me. Yeah, he said, no, not at all. He said, I want you here for one reason. Now I want you to remember what I'm about to say. He said, you're here for one reason. What's that? You are here to amaze me. You are not amazing me. Go away and start amazing me. It's the toughest thing anyone. So I went back to my little office and I actually cried. And literally I sat and I wept because I didn't really know how am I going to please this man. Now somehow I must have done okay because I kept my job and I'm still here, I'm standing here now. But that request, that I amaze him, really went deep. You know, what does that mean? That he was saying to me, you must become self-critical. You must find people to work with who match your dreams, your ideals, and then come back to me with the result of all of that. And then I'll tell you if you're amazing. I'm not sure I ever in my life did anything amazing, but I know that always I was trying. I always had that word in my head. How can this be amazing? Not good, amazing. Now there's a movie coming out, I hope some of you see it, it's called